Aloha. I had a challenging morning. Maybe some of you have that too. I am still in my cycling gear. I'm having some challenges with my eyes. I have my special glasses on. Today we're going to talk about a very challenging topic. Let's talk about accusations. That's right, accusations. I don't often go onto these topics, but have you ever felt blindsided by someone accusing you of something you didn't do? Or maybe you've been suddenly under attack, your character questioned, your emotions come flooding in. Today I'm going to help you just think about next time that happens to you or someone you love and see what you can do. Because we live in a world that's full of accusations. They fly faster than facts. Social media, our relationships, at work, even well meaning people can misunderstand us. Some don't want the truth. Sad to say, they want control. They want drama. They want to break your spirit, especially if you're strong. But they don't get to decide your future. You do. Accusations are powerful. Whether they're true, false, or weaponized projections, they can undermine your reputation. Some of you have had that happen. I know I have. They can damage relationships you thought people you could work with or trust. They can trigger some deep emotional pain. For those of us that had trauma before, it can really get to the core of that pain. It can derail progress that you thought you had, or you were on a good track, and then boom, you're knocked off. In some cases, it can cause long term trauma. That's pretty scary. But let me be clear, I'm not talking about legal or criminal matters because that has a whole special category and there's not enough time for dealing with individuals who are criminals or do things that are illegal. I'm talking about those everyday moments, just like I do every time I'm up here talking with you. It's those everyday moments that can challenge us or knock us off course. Now, when a friend accuses you of betrayal, or a coworker blames you for their mistake, or a stranger online calls you something that sticks, you don't even know them. I'd like to go into a couple personal stories that this triggered for me. I'll probably talk about West Point. I've shared the longer stories you can hear on earlier talks. For example, my first year, I was ridden hard by one of the cadets. He was the first sergeant, which is a pretty important position later on. He became the company commander second semester. I need to talk about another story too. Just saying that triggered another one in me and gave me, traumatized reaction. This individual would say what a dirtbag I was. He would tell everyone how awful I was who would listen. This was the first sergeant, first detail. Even people who knew and cared about me, they couldn't do much around him. They didn't know that I had been related to one of the other members in the company, and if I tipped him off, then that would be really miserable for all of us. I was pretty isolated. He would just say the most awful things. You were supposed to be able to talk to people normally who you had known before you attended West Point. I knew quite a few people through the lady I lived with for 6 months. She had sons who attended. Her sons were the seniors, the firsties, when I arrived as a plebe. They had all their friends. One got me on the writing team, Mark, thank you so much, and others who treated me really well. But when they tried to talk to me the academic year, couldn't. They would get written up. I tell them, sir, do not talk to me until after we are recognized. You will be written up and I will be written up. Very unpleasant. So weren't able to follow the rules and always falsely accused of breaking the rules, which I wasn't. And then writing me up, putting me on the area, which was you walk back and forth with a weapon and you get inspected and your belts and it's hot and nasty usually and miserable time and you don't get to have freedom on the weekend. When he was relieved of command, the second detail, guess what? I didn't get written up again. Was I the dirtbag? Think about that. So when you think about people accusing you, healthy people don't do that. Healthy people aren't backbiters. Healthy people don't do accusations because they know that it breaks down the trust and it breaks down any possibility of really working on a strong relationship going forward. The very people you want working with you have the answers, even if they're kind of prickly. That reminded me of another situation. It was the very first academic day. I was injured. I had shin splints. I don't know if you ever had those before, but we had a 12-mile road march with our full gear. I got shin splints the first 100 yards going up a really rocky hill out of where we were bivouacked or had our tents. I was thinking, oh, I've got the company. I can't wait. I'm going to get to see people I know. How wonderful. I came to the company. One of my roommates was Erin. Kathy Ann was the other one. And right away, someone came to visit me. Two guys who knew my second brother, Alan. They knocked on the door and they came in and they recognized me. They said, oh, we heard that you were going to be here. They were roommates and knew us at different times of our life growing up. Both were the top 5% of their class. Really cool. They made me feel so good. Erin was like, oh, she knows some people because she didn't really know anybody. They left. And then the company commander came to the door. Different company commander, not the other guy. Actually, this guy was usually pretty good. Except, I'll tell you. The story continues. He came on the door, he knocked, and he said, I know what the rules are, but if any upper class come to visit you, you must report to my room before they can visit you. And I said, yes, sir. I have to explain another thing. Our rooms were about 30 on a floor. So if you look down the hallway, you could see people coming and going in different rooms, depending on your eyesight. It couldn't have been half an hour. Somebody else knocked on my door and came in. I'm first looking at him, and I was a little confused because he's what we call a turnback. And turnback was someone who had been through plebe year, left for a variety of reasons, and then came back. But they can fall out. They don't have to march at attention in the corridors like all plebes. From a distance, they look like an upper class. And that's what he looked like, an upper class coming in my room. I didn't shoot out of the door to go report to my commander. Because he told me, don't worry, Deb, don't worry. I'm a turnback. I'm your classmate. I'm not an upper class. And that was true, but that didn't look very good down the hallway. So next thing I know, close the door, boom, boom, the door shook on its hinges and thought I was going to fall off. We opened it and the company commander saying, Lewis, report to my room ASAP. I knew he was thinking the worst. I knew he was going to accuse me of disobeying a direct verbal order. That is one of the most egregious things you can ever do in the military. Poor Erin, she's trying to give me what they call a dress off so my shirt looks at least halfway decent as I sprint down the hallway. You had to square corners. Just think of walking out of your door, hitting the wall, and then taking a right face and going as fast as you can down to the room that was halfway down the corridor. I go down there, and I took a right turn, and I came to his door. He was talking to someone in his room. They were having a pleasant conversation, I could see. And then he took one look at me. I thought, oh my gosh. I could see rage just come over his face. The other guy left his room. He asked me to come in. Well, he didn't ask. He ordered me to come in. And I did. He proceeded to chew me out in no uncertain terms. He had thought I disobeyed a direct verbal order. He had just told me to report to him if any upper class had come. Our answers were yes, sir, no excuse, sir, I do not understand. Those are only 4 acceptable answers. And none of them was, but sir, he was actually my classmate. No, no, no. It felt like an hour, but it probably was about 15 minutes. He just kept chewing me out and reading me the riot act. Here are these women. I could just hear what he's saying. Here are these women. He didn't say it, but here are these women and they're disobeying orders. I'm going to set her straight. Well, I went back to my room. There was a whole lot of stuff happened after that because, of course, we gathered a crowd outside because they could hear him yelling, the company commander, the new company commander, screaming and yelling at me. I had to go through a gauntlet of people just to get to a place where I could recover and get out of it. But I knew I was hosed, in trouble, big time, misunderstood. It wasn't my fault. You can't say that. A week later, I have to say to his credit, the company commander told me that he had never yelled at anyone like that so strongly before in his life. And I thought, oh, lucky me. But at least he did say that. He did get more of the story later. Then, like I said, the first sergeant never got off my case and kept riding it all the way until he got relieved. I was well meaning, but I was misunderstood. I had such a hard time that first year just by those misperceptions, being accused of something that I did not do. And it undermines reputations. It certainly did me. It damaged my relationships. I was like the pariah. Don't talk to her. Even my roommate, Erin, she said, you know, you're a magnet for hazing. It wasn't my fault, right? There's so many stories I have. So many stories of being misunderstood. You've heard a few of them. Blamed for other people's mistakes or being considered disloyal simply for speaking up when I was ordered to speak up, then told you're being disloyal. I've told that story before, so I won't go back through it. But betrayal, all kinds of things. Thinking that I wasn't a leader, and then later on, what happened? I stuck with it because that's what you do. If you're misunderstood, you're going to want to stick with it. You're going to want to stay and just do your best. That's what I learned the hard way. Do your best every day. And the people who know you, care about you, they'll stand by you. The others, they're not worth your time anyway. Not if they're going to treat you badly. I always felt that was a challenge. Even if they started off that way, I would work on them. I told you only on one hand did I have good leaders. Well, only on one hand did I have people when you got down to it, couldn't work with. I would say like that first sergeant was one. You can stop accusations from coming because you won't be a magnet for that energy that picks you out above others. And there are ways you can stand strong, figure out how you can respond in ways that bring peace, not destruction. I thought you might like my acronym that is actually a system. It's a tool to help you rise above the noise. The word is clear. Clear. Whether it's clearing your reputation or clearing out your energy, whatever it is, this was a tool I wish I had during those really challenging times. It took hard-earned lessons to come up with ways that now I can share with you in order to help you deal with them. What is the C in clear? The C in clear is calm and center your emotions. Hope that makes sense. You want to pause. I talk about that a lot, the pause and taking a breath. Ground yourself. I've taught you several ways of how to do that. But you want to ground yourself because if you respond in the heat of the moment, you're likely to escalate that drama. You're also likely to look guilty because people don't always get upset if they're innocent. Innocent people are calm and collected, right? If you calm your nervous system at a minimum before you engage with anybody, you can give your best self a chance to deal with what's happening. So calm and center your emotions first. As soon as it hits you, you need to calm and center your emotions. That's the C. The L is listen for what's really happening. Listen for what's really happening. Because is this about you? Many times it was not about me. I could trigger it, but it really wasn't about me. It was about them. They may be projecting their own pain, their own guilt, their own fears. You don't know what triggers them in order to do these accusations. This is a scary one because it's so prevalent. It really is out there a lot these days. I know you can see it. People often accuse others of exactly what they themselves are doing. I'm going to repeat that. People often accuse others of exactly what they themselves are doing. It's a psychological defense mechanism that's called projection. I didn't know that, but I'll tell you, as time wore on, when people would say things in really desperate situations, I've talked divorce, I've talked all kinds of situations, they were doing it. I wish I'd understood that, that there was a chance that that's what was happening. Then I might have been able to deal with it even better. But I wasn't. Just listen for what's really happening. What's the E? Evaluate your options. When you use wisdom, you don't necessarily owe everyone an explanation, but you can clarify with calm strength. You can set a boundary. You can seek support. You can disengage entirely because sometimes silence is a powerful answer to accusations. You can just go and get the job done. I did that mostly. That was really my go-to. Just go ahead and do it. Do it anyway, even if there's repercussions. I already explained that in an earlier talk where my guy had been up for 72 hours. I knew that this was not the official channel way, but I knew it needed to be done in the time that I had to make it happen. I knew I wouldn't get support because the people were not around me who were confident enough or able enough to make those kind of decisions. They would have said, just make him do it. No, not going to do that to someone. I will support my people to make sure they are not harmed. That was my belief, and I stuck with that. Evaluate your options. That's E. What's A? Love this one. A, ask better questions. When defending yourself nonstop, ask what makes you say that. What makes you say that? My friend, Doug Krug, who is brilliant, as you know, I've mentioned him a number of times, he had a quote, and I just want to read exactly what he said. When you feel the need to defend yourself, you cannot be available for anything else. When you feel the need to defend yourself, you cannot be available for anything else. By Doug Krug. I think he's the master of asking better questions. You might say, what makes you say that? Or what outcome are you hoping for? These questions can reveal a deeper issue or diffuse an attack. Another one is if they are yelling at you. I don't know that you can always use this, but Siddiqui, someone who my girlfriend Tamarie has been helping, has a method where you push with your hand, you say, I can hear you better over there, because they're yelling and screaming. I have never tried this before, but it just makes so much sense because sometimes people are yelling so loudly. On the phone, I can say, I need you to bring your voice down because I really can't listen to what you're saying. If you don't stop, I'm going to have to hang up on you until you can calmly talk to me about this. One more is if they're telling you something and you turn toward them because you don't want to be hit by all that toxic energy, turn toward them and say, tell me more. Tell me more about what this is. In conflict situations, when you ask that, you have to pause. You can't continue. Asking better questions. It's a very powerful, powerful way to influence anyone to do what you want them to do without telling them. People don't like to be told what to do, but if you ask the best question, then you can perhaps move it in a direction that you want. Okay, last one, R. After all the four before it, you can now respond with wisdom. You have your options out before you, but this is powerful. You can lead with your character, not just react. Your response isn't just about this moment, it's about who you are and who you are becoming. What you do, people are watching. You are the leader in that moment about how you handle it, setting the bar hopefully high for others to follow you. I hope that helps, that tool, because I know just listening to it for me, it's like, gosh, I wish I'd known that before. But I'm glad that I can tell you and share it with you now so you can use it. Clear. So accusations, they can break us if we let them. But they can also refine us. They can hone us like a crucible. Going into West Point, the crucible, you're honing that, tempering you through the heat, helping you be a better person so that you can deal with even more later on. They can reveal who we are, what we will no longer tolerate. So next time someone comes at you unfairly, stay clear and walk away with your head held high. If today's message resonated with you, please share it, tag a friend who needs this, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. It's www.youtube.com/ampersand@stress intelligence. And subscribe. You'll hear all these talks there and now on podcasts. These tools are to help you to rise strong in a world that doesn't always play fair. Because we don't want to just survive. We want to lead. We want to grow. We want to bounce back and be the best version of ourselves. So thanks for listening. Aloha.